Hello everyone! Yes, as you can tell from the title, there seems to be another victim in this The Culture War. So don't forget to bow your head and a minute of silence for our fallen comrades after this video. And this time it is about one of Great Britain's most popular men. The TV personality, the petrol head, the at best amateur farmer, Jeremy Clarkson. Because he said in quite a hyperbolic way what quite a lot of people in Britain were thinking about Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex. And without beating around the bush, we may as well just get into it. Jeremy Clarkson. One day, Harold the Glove Puppet will tell the truth about a woman talking bollocks. Again, something that the entire UK is thinking. We all know in our heart of hearts that Harold Markle is a slightly dim but fun-loving chin who flew Apache helicopter gunships in Afghanistan and cavorted around Las Vegas hotel rooms with naked hookers, but then along came Meghan, who obviously used some vivid bedroom promises to turn him into a warrior of woke. And again, from me, not too much to add, I just agree with all that. And now it seems that she has her arm so far up his bottom, she can use her fingers to alter his facial expressions. I actually feel rather sorry for him, because today he's just a glove puppet with no more control over what he says or does than Basil Brush. Meghan, though, is a very different story. I hate her, and this is where it starts to get what some may call a little harsh. Not like I hate Nicola Sturgeon or Rose West, I hate her on a cellular level. At night I am unable to sleep as I lie there grinding my teeth and dreaming of the day when she is made to parade naked through the streets of every town in Britain, while the crowds chant shame and throw lumps of excrement at her. Now I'm sure many of you will know this, but this is a reference to the infamous Game of Thrones episode in Season 5 when Cersei is caught out for all her misdeeds, but the only real official way to punish her is by accusing her of infidelity and then have the nuns of Westeros cut all her hair off, strip her down naked, walk her through the street in front of big crowds while saying shame and ringing a bell. All Jeremy Clarkson is saying is that I would find some morbid pleasure if this happened to Meghan Markle. Not saying it should happen to her, and not even saying he wishes it upon her, just saying that it would be a guilty pleasure. Now, admittedly, it's quite a horrible thing to say, but he is a hyperbolic man making a hyperbolic point. Does this point go too far? Well, I can see why it would be beyond some people's line in the sand. And honestly, it's a bit of a shame because the rest of the article, I think he makes fairly good points, not substantiated by any particular evidence, but does put forward a similar narrative to mine about the, well, I was about to say the Markles, but the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, let's call them by their titles. And if you want to read them, it's still on the web archive, the link's in the description. But naturally, it is fair to say that this imagery was a bit too harsh on Meghan Markle. She will in no way resemble Cersei Lannister. For a start, she isn't smart enough, and Cersei isn't even a very smart person. However, a lot of people did make a lot of complaints to The Sun and Jeremy Clarkson about what he wrote, and as I say, I can see why it would be beyond a lot of people's line in the sand. So, not too long after Jeremy Clarkson tweeted this out, saying, "Oh dear, I'd rather put my foot in it. In a column I wrote about Meghan, I made a clumsy reference to a scene in Game of Thrones, and this has gone down badly with a great many people. I'm horrified to have caused so much hurt, and I shall be more careful in the future." And also, in tandem with this tweet, The Sun took down the offending article, hence I had to find it on Web Archive. In a non-clown world, this would be the end of the story, but we currently live in clown world in the clown decade, so obviously this is not the end of the story. Naturally, even after the apology came out by Clarkson, there were still people having a go at him, including his own daughter. So Emily, Clarkson's daughter, 28, wrote, "My views are and have always been clear that when it comes to misogyny, bullying and the treatment of women by the media, I want to make it very clear that I stand against everything that my dad wrote about Meghan Markle, and I remain standing in support of those who are targeted with online hatred." Emily condemned the Mail Online for its coverage of the Duchess earlier this week, saying, "This publication and many like it are hell-bent on destroying this woman." She called the press's treatment of Meghan inhumane and said that both Duchess and Prince Harry have been treated appallingly. Emily, the daughter of Jeremy Clarkson and his ex-wife Frances Kane, wrote, "It's bullying on a mass scale." And these words were echoed by other TV personalities such as John Bishop and Carol Vorderman. As I said earlier in the video, it is quite an extreme thing to want to happen to someone, but again, I'm fully aware it's a joke, and honestly, if you tell bad jokes that do hurt people, and you can genuinely see why they'd hurt people, I think it's fair to apologise. But naturally, it wasn't enough. This story just had to go on, even though it happened last year. Harry and Meghan accused TV presenter of spreading hate rhetoric as they dismissed latest apology over the Sun column. Now, of course, before we get into this, I think it's fair that we actually go through the apology, and it's one hell of an apology. It is 6 pictures long on Instagram, and he apparently also sent a personal email to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, so the man is truly sorry for what he did. This should be the end of it. One of the strange things I've noticed in recent times is that whenever an MP or a well-known person is asked to apologise for something, no matter how heartfelt or profound that apology may be, it's never enough for the people who called it in the first place. So I'm going to try and book this trend this morning with an apology for the things I said in the Sun column recently about Meghan Markle. I really am sorry, all the way from the balls of my feet to the follicles on my head. This is me putting my hands up, it's mea culpa, with bells on. So a really interesting part of this apology is that he's saying, look, I know for most people this is absolutely pointless, and I do appreciate that, but I'm going to apologise anyway because I know what I did is wrong. And he hopes that Meghan and Harry will be able to find it in their hearts to forgive him and just move past this. I give you, my humble audience, to just one guess as to whether they forgave him or not. Well, I've already given the answer away. It goes on. Usually I read what I've written to someone else before filing, but I was home alone on that fateful day and in a hurry, so when I'd finished I'd just press send, and then when the column appeared the next day, the landmine exploded. It was a slow rumble to start with, and I ignored it, but then the rumble got louder. So I picked up a copy of The Sun to see what all the fuss was about. We've all been there, I guess. In that precise moment when we suddenly realised we've completely messed up, you're sweaty and cold at the same time, and your head pounds, and you feel sick. I couldn't believe what I was reading. Had I really said that? It was horrible. And again, I can believe this, especially with how aware Jeremy Clarkson seems to be with the current climate. He knows that you can have a bit of a go at Meghan Markle, and the rest of the article is honestly fine. You can say you hate her, that part's fine. Saying that you would have deep, dark pleasure in her having excrements thrown at her while she was paraded naked through the streets, yes, it's fair to say that's a bit far, and I think anyone with a brain would be embarrassed by writing that down and publishing it. I knew what had happened straight away. I'd been thinking of a scene in Game of Thrones, but I'd forgotten to mention this. So it looked like I was actually calling for revolting violence to rain down on Meghan's head, and this is what I'm saying. It's obviously a reference to that, and let's be fair, everyone knows about that scene. It's referenced all the time. I was very angry with myself because in all those controversial days on Top Gear when I was accused of all sorts of things, it was very rarely sexism. We never did women can't park gags, for instance, or suggested that powerful cars were only for men. And I was thrilled when Jodie Kidd and Ella MacArthur set fastest ever laps in our reasonably priced car. I'm just not sexist, and I abhor violence against women, and yet I seem to be advocating just that. This is where his apology goes a bit skew-whiff, in my opinion. There were absolutely accusations thrown at Top Gear for sexism. One of the accusations I can remember off the top of my head is that Top Gear were accused of basically picking pretty women to have at the front of the audiences so that, it'd be easier on the eye for people watching. More than likely it's actually because women are generally shorter than men, so they tend to go near the front of the audience. But one episode in reaction to that complaint about sexism, the Top Gear dressed up a few people in the audience as the village people and had them right front and centre in the audience. But it is true generally that Top Gear actually wasn't that sexist, really. And even if there was, it was, classic Top Gear banter, as every part of Top Gear was. But it just seems like pointless grovelling at this point. I wouldn't even bother doing that, Jeremy, but obviously he's already done it. It just comes across as saying, I can't be sexist, my wife's a woman. I was mortified, and so was everyone else. My phone went mad. Very close friends were furious. Even my own daughter took to Instagram to denounce me. The Sun quickly apologised, and I tried to explain myself, but still there were calls for me to be sacked and charged with a hate crime. More than 60 MPs demanded action to be taken. ITV, who makes Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and Amazon, who make The Farm Show and The Grand Tour, were incandescent. Yes, this crime against nature of making a joke was so bad that MPs got involved for some strange reason. And yes, people did think he should have been charged with a hate crime, even though it's only in Nottingham where you can be charged for hate crimes against women at the moment. Again, the Equality Act really needs to be burnt, but here we are. I therefore wrote to everyone who works with me saying how sorry I was, and then on Christmas morning I emailed Harry and Meghan in California to apologise to them too. I said I was baffled by what they had been saying on TV, but the language I used in my column was disgraceful, and for that I was profoundly sorry. Over the last 30 years, I've written very nearly 5,000 newspaper and magazine columns, so it was inevitable that one day I'd do a Harry Kane and sky one off the damn thing, which is what's happened with that piece about Meghan. Again, it's sounding more like a normal apology at this point. It's, yep, I said to everyone, sorry, I really shouldn't have said that. Even sent it to the parties that I had offended. What I did was a terrible thing. This is all fine. It's gone back to sounding quite normal. I'm happy with this. So, can I move on now? Not sure. It's hard to be interesting and vigilant at the same time. You never hear pearls of laughter coming from health and safety seminars, but I promise you this, I will try. Who knows, very soon I shall be a grandfather, so in the future, maybe I'll just write about that. So that was the public statement about the apology, and I can only imagine the personal email he sent to Harry and Meghan was even more heartfelt. Yet, as we say, on Christmas Day it was Jeremy Clarkson sent them the personal email, so if we go back to the article, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have dismissed an apology by Jeremy Clarkson, said his newspaper column about Meghan was part of a series of articles shared in hate. Well, yes, he said in the article he hates her. Clarkson earlier revealed he had emailed the couple to apologise over his piece in The Sun, which he had said he hated Meghan. A spokesperson for the Sussexes said the couple rejected this latest apology, published on Instagram on Monday, and did not believe the article was a careless, isolated incident. And once again, this is a good example of why you shouldn't apologise, though in this case I think it's fair that he did apologise. If people are offended over non-remarks, then that is fair enough, but this was an active, I hate you so much, I dream about this horrible situation to you type scenario, and it's just something that probably shouldn't be published. The statement said, on December 25, 2022, Mr. Clarkson wrote solely to Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, The contents of his correspondence were marked private and confidential. While a new public apology has been issued today by Mr. Clarkson, what remains to be addressed is his long-standing pattern of writing articles that spread hate rhetoric, dangerous conspiracy theories, and misogyny. Okay, I would like examples of all three, please. Unless each of his other pieces were also written in a hurry, as he states, it is clear that it is not an isolated incident shared in haste, but rather a series of articles shared in hate. The statement did not give examples of the other articles. Oh, okay. If it's a long-standing pattern, that usually means that there's quite a ample selection to sample and give us an example. But this is why I said his article wasn't completely wrong. He did point out that Meghan tends to talk bollocks and uses Harry as a puppet, and here is Harry apparently being used as a puppet by Meghan to lie about his long-standing pattern of writing articles spreading hate, conspiracy theories, and misogyny. Again, any example will do. So thanks, Harry and Meghan, for not taking someone's sincere apology, and again I do think it's sincere because he did it a few days after the article was released, and I mean I can't imagine that Harry and Meghan's email address is public knowledge, so he'd have to get it, and then just defaming the man with absolutely no examples of what you mean. You just say things that sound about right. Oh, he said something bad about Meghan, well my side will just listen to me. Yes, he's a dangerous man. Great. Anyway, now for the worst bit. Yes, Jeremy Clarkson has been cancelled. Amazon likely to part ways with Jeremy Clarkson after final commission shows go to air. Grand Tour host sent email apology to Harry and Meghan. Exclusive. So, in the originally published article, Amazon Prime Video is likely to be parting ways with Jeremy Clarkson mere weeks after his comments about Meghan Markle were published in the British tabloid The Sun. Sources tell Vanity that the streaming service won't be working with Clarkson beyond seasons of the Grand Tour and Clarkson's Farm that have already been commissioned. This means that the notorious Top Gear presenter likely won't be appearing in any new shows on Prime Video beyond 2024, though there's every chance a final Grand Tour episode could carry over into 2025. Prime Video already has a number of shows in the works with Clarkson which are going to go ahead, but the decision effectively means that Clarkson's Farm will end with Season 3, expected in 2024. It also means that motoring format The Grand Tour, one of Prime Video's biggest shows, will also come to an end. Variety understands the series will conclude after 4 more special episodes, the last of which is expected to land in late 2024. So again, this is an earlier version of the article. This is just saying we're probably not going to see any more of Clarkson on Amazon Prime when it comes to 2025. All thanks to one paragraph he wrote and sent off, and obviously it got past an editor as well, which is something that a lot of people are skipping over. But either way, I do put the blame on Jeremy. He shouldn't have said something like that in the first place. But it all comes round to the apology that Jeremy Clarkson made, which, again, I do think was quite clever. He says, can I move on from this? Well, I don't know. It's not up to me, it's whether Harry and Meghan forgive me, and they have decided no, they can't move on from it. They have to destroy him. And is this going to make him hate her any less? The answer is more than likely no. because as we can tell from the update to the article, a virtual press conference for Jeremy Clarkson's Amazon Prime Video series Clarkson's Farm that was set to take place on Tuesday morning has been called off. The event, which was scheduled before the presenter's column about Meghan Markle was published in the British tabloid in December, has been on the cards in recent weeks, despite the ensuing controversy. However, it was cancelled at 6 PM UK time on Monday, hours after Clarkson posted a fresh apology on Instagram, and Variety reported that Prime Video was set to part ways with the controversial figure. A spokesperson for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex issued a statement regarding the matter on Monday afternoon, and it's the same statement I read out earlier. So this is where we're up to with cancel culture. Honestly, this was a pretty direct insult at someone, but again, Jeremy Clarkson wasn't saying anything should happen to her, didn't say he wanted it to happen to her, just said that there would be some dark pleasure in seeing it happen, which doesn't mean that he necessarily wants it. And if there's one thing we can say about Jeremy Clarkson over the years, he does seem to be quite an honest man, possibly too honest, which is what makes him such a great TV presenter, and also one of the most popular presenters in Britain, and probably still is even after this episode. Because like plenty of people with vast amounts of wealth, being cancelled doesn't really affect you too much. J.K. Rowling's a great example of this. So there will be a vocal minority calling for all ties, business ties, whatever ties, to be cut with said person. Great example, Hogwarts Legacy, the new game based in the Harry Potter universe that's coming out. People, especially trans radical activists, well, pretty much exclusively trans radical activists, are saying, don't buy this game, because if you do, you are implicitly supporting transphobes. And as time goes on, no one really takes it seriously. It is seen as a joke to say that at this point, and I know I'm included in this group, but there's quite a lot of people who might just buy the game just to put the sales figure up and to annoy the people saying don't buy it. And a similar thing will probably happen with Clarkson in some time. So when it comes to cancel culture of high profile figures, a lot of people who are on the woke side will say, oh, cancel culture doesn't exist. Look, J.K. Rowling's still making money. Jeremy Clarkson's still going to be making money. Clearly, it's nothing. When really cancel culture is a big umbrella of different actions taken by predominantly leftist activists to get people to cut any business they can. And if you have any business cut from you, that is cancel culture succeeding. Just because you try and get someone cancelled and it doesn't succeed in the way you'd like, doesn't mean it's not cancel culture. Cancel culture is the process of trying to get people either affected via the law, via business deals, via income, via any of those means. Financially or socially trying to ostracize them because of what they've said, which goes against any sort of leftism, yes, that is cancel culture. That has happened here semi-successfully with Jeremy Clarkson, though I'm sure Clarkson's Farm will be picked up by another streaming service, because, let's face it, he's a very popular guy, and I have not met a single person who watched Clarkson's Farm and didn't think it was both entertaining and informative. So yes, Jeremy Clarkson may be perfectly fine after all this, but that doesn't make what happened to him a good thing. And I'm not saying what he said is fine. As I say, I think it's good that he apologised. But the only people who should come off worse in all this is Harry and Meghan. Yes, he slighted them. Yes, he insulted them. Yes, he said a horrific thing. But he apologised, and he clearly won't do it again, which is the whole point in an apology and the whole point in forgiveness. It is good to forgive someone who has slighted you if you genuinely think they're not going to do it again. But Harry and Meghan have not said this, and instead have doubled down and said, oh, in fact, he does this all the time, and again, not really given any examples. So is that going to be the end of this story? Well, I doubt it. It's probably going to be brought up quite a lot by Harry and Meghan in the future. Oh, look how the British press hate us. Jeremy Clarkson said that he wanted to Cersei her. But anyway, we'll deal with those issues when it comes to it. For now, that's everything I had for you today. So as usual, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.